Every month on Commuter Connections, Professor Vern brings the laughs, experiments, and most of all, in-depth information about our transit system.
Professor Vern, what do you got for us this time?
What we have here is a basic railway with 2 blocks and a colored signal located at the entrance of block 2.
Professor Vern, you make this so easy to understand.
That's my job, Administrator.
Right now in our studio, we have the man behind the segment, MDOT MTA Chief Engineer Vernon Hartsock. He's giving us a behind-the-scenes look at his Commuter Connections segment. Welcome to the show, Vern.
Thank you, Brittany. It's a pleasure to be here.
And could you tell me just how you and the administrator, Kevin Quinn, put together the show?
The Administrator, Kevin Quinn, told me that he wanted to add another segment to Commuter Connections that explained transit technology in a way that everybody could understand. He wanted me to do the show because he felt I was effective at explaining technical topics in layman's terms. Before I was an engineer, I was a technical instructor.
So how did you create the character Professor Vern?
I was asked to create a character that was highly intelligent, geeky, funny, and somewhat eccentric. This would be an MDOT MTA employee that Kevin would rely on for a variety of technical duties. Since the audience needed to consider the show as factual, I felt that the character needed to convey a kind of wisdom and a high level of scientific knowledge, so I made him a professor. I chose the lab coat and the eyeglasses for the costume because I felt it established credibility of the professor. I created his geeky persona by adding a pocket protector to the costume, and I also write and deliver his lines in a way that accentuates his geeky nature.
All right, and could you tell me what was one of your favorite segments that you all have done, and explain it to me. What did you explain to us?
I'd say it's the episode we did on how transit signal priority works.
So how does TSP work?
Great question, Administrator. The intersection uses its TSP radio to broadcast what I call a TSP request. Because in that show, I got to explain how traffic signal work. Now, I think this demonstrates the potential of the show because we took a commonplace technology that everyone relies on, but few people understand, and I think we explained it quite well. I received a lot of positive feedback from that episode.
And where is Professor Vern created? Many people may not know exactly where you guys are when you are in the lab.
I needed a highly technical environment for use as a set. So I chose the Metro Electronic Technician, or ET shop, because as you can see on screen, it has laboratory benches and a variety of highly visual instrumentation, such as oscilloscopes and spectrum analyzers. I felt that location would add authenticity and quality to the show.
You also have many special guests, MDOT MTA employees. Tell me their significance to the segment.
I felt by showcasing our professionals in their jobs that this would inspire people to pursue similar careers, as well as the higher level education needed to attain those goals.
And what's next for Professor Vern?
We have some very interesting episodes coming up. We have grade crossings, railway interlockings, energy capture and storage, and environmental preservation, to name a few. We're also going to explore some transit topics such as how bus schedules are made, and also look for a new reoccurring character in the show that I think will add another dimension of novelty and humor to the episodes.
Oh, I can't wait to see that one. So what do you feel is the most interesting aspect of you all putting together the segment, or when it actually comes to life? What's the most interesting part of it?
Each episode opens with the professor tinkering with some highly advanced fictional technology. I write that into the show to promote the professor's credibility. I make the props as visually effective as possible to gather the attention of the audience. I find the most interesting part is to explore how far out and exotic the professor's technical interests might go. And I also think it's important to showcase that although Kevin appreciates the technical wizardry of the professor, he only sees its value and where it brings credibility to mass transit.
And it's informative, but also hilarious. How do you put in that funny side, but also keep the information as robust as it is?
Yes, I felt that humor was a critical ingredient to keep the show appealing.
Whoa! Professor Vern, what happened to my coffee?
Oh, I must have had it set too high. Oh well, you know what they say, too much coffee is no good.
I should have known that would happen.
When you make people laugh, they enjoy that experience, and I think that can help cultivate fans from among the audience. Although I've written a lot of technical manuals and training materials, I find that writing comedy requires a completely different focus. One approach I take is to explore and reveal big differences between the characters of the professor and Kevin, then find humor in their reaction to those differences.
And is that probably maybe one of the most challenging parts of the show, or are there other parts of the segment that are just challenging?
Well, it's a challenge to take a highly technical subject, such as railway signaling, and write it into a 5-minute dialogue that conveys the essence of how it works. And to write all this in layman's terms, that's a challenge.
And how important is it that you do these type of segments for people who may not understand signaling or the bus schedules, or just any person who rides MTA all of the time?
I feel that the attractiveness of the visual wizardry of the show will appeal to people and generate motivation toward trying to obtain similar careers in science and technology, and of course the education and the higher level education needed to attain those.
And do you offer any thoughts on if people can suggest shows, or how do you guys come up with the topics?
The topics are selected by Kevin, either from my recommendation or from his own ideas, but we're always welcome to explore topics of interest for the show.
Well, thank you so much, Vern. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next time in the lab.
My pleasure, Brittany. Thank you.